Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. You might want to saddle up here because this one's going to kind of be a long one. As the title says, we're going to be installing a 2K monitor in the ALP HD. Side note here, this was shot over a 3 to 4 week period. You know how life is, especially this time of year. Things are winding down from school, the kids' outdoor activities are ramping up now that the weather's nicer, but I digress. Initially when I started shooting this, I was only working off the teaser video. Why, you ask? Because I'm a dumbass, and I totally missed that there was an actual installation video. Because of this, and the fact that I really can't follow instructions in the first place, I screwed a few things up, especially when I made some modifications to the back door. Anyway, I'm going to stop yammering here about what's going to happen and all that stuff, and let's just dive into unpackaging everything. Jeez, you're slow. Okay, so let's kick this up a notch so we can get to the goodies inside. First thing we're going to grab here is the Playfield mounting parts bag. Let's get that cracked open here. So stapled to it here is the checklist. So this lists everything that's in the bag plus all the wooden pieces like the monitor mount and the monitor blocks. The sheet itself is nice. It's got pictures of everything for people like me who don't know how to read. As you can see, we've got various bolts, the wing nuts, the M4 screws. Even shows the weather stripping and the leveling feet. We're not going to bother pulling any of this stuff out right now. We're just going to put it off to the side. Here we've got one of the HDMI cables that we're going to need, as well as the DisplayPort cable. Here we have the bidirectional DisplayPort switch. Checking it out, the one thing I appreciate here is the fact that the double-sided tape is already installed on the switch. It's one less thing that we need to take care of as part of the installation. Moving on, here we have the DisplayPort to HDMI converter. Next we'll move on to the conversion parts that are in the bag here. Get it popped open so you can just take a look at the checklist here. It notes all the parts that are in the bag and then some. And then we've got our pictures, the sheet here, which is great for us dyslexics. It also notes we have the LVDS board and cable here. I'm already at 3 minutes, 30 seconds, I think, at this point, so I'm going to just speed this up here. No point in seeing everything that's in the bag because we're going to be using it all anyway. I think super speed's working out pretty good here, so we're going to keep it going. Your time is valuable, so I just want to speed through this as quickly as possible. Those were the brackets that we'll be using. Here's the LVDS board. Next is the back door. As I said, I wasn't using the original video, so we're actually going to start with that first. And then lastly, here are the two blocks for the monitor and the actual mounting base. So let me get things cleaned up here. We'll get the back door on the bar here, and we'll get started with that. So as I said, we need to modify this door. Why? Well, my PC lives underneath the playfield, so I need air movement. Currently, this is what the back door looks like. A couple fans, some grills, nothing fancy, but it gets the job done. So what I need to do is I need to put the fans on this board here and here. Now, laying things out, this looks pretty good, but there's a problem. The LVDS board. Why is it a problem? Well, when I was fitting everything together here and we put the HDMI in, it bumps into the fan, which is going to be a problem. Even though it's raised, it's still a problem. But I got these 270 angled HDMI connectors. So now I can plug the HDMI into the top of the connector and it doesn't interfere with the fan, which is perfect. So now what we'll do is we'll get the board all taped up and get the fans laid out on the board. So why tape up the board? Two reasons. One, it makes it a lot easier for you to mark out your work. Two, I find that sometimes it helps from protecting the finish. Some people say it's BS. I find that it works, so, whatever. So here's where I screwed up. You see the screw holes up at the top of the board? Of course you can. They're circled in red. They're way off, right? So how did this happen? Well, I was rushing. I didn't take the time to mark things out or anything like that. Normally I would draw this all out, and I didn't. Why? Because it was getting ready to rain, and I just simply rushed through it, and I paid for it. So lesson here is don't rush, take your time, all that stuff. You'll notice here too that I made a note on the board here that says you are not a master craftsman. It's because, I'm not. But since I screwed things up here, I'm not really going to go through the full tutorial like I normally would. Maybe I'll do another one later if I can get new boards from Buy Stuff. Here, look. So as I said before, I didn't tape the back of the board here, and the finish got a little screwed up. Am I worried about it? No, not really. That's where the fan grills are going to go, so not a big deal. This here, I'm showing you that I'm using a 3-inch hole saw to cut the holes. As I said, not going to go over everything here just because this didn't really work out the way I wanted to, but in the interest of taking all the video and all that other stuff, I figured, you know what, I'd show you at least parts of it here because there are some valuable pieces like this here. Never drill through the board completely. Always go one side, then the other, especially with anything that's not real wood. Now here's where I figured out I really screwed up. So now you can see how far off the holes were. What are you going to do? Screw it. We're going to grab some green tape. We're going to put some more self-deprecating humor on here and just essentially keep moving. So we lay everything out here. This is what it looks like, kind of mocked up. Now here I'm showing you the differences between the 1 3/4 inch screws and the 2-inch screws. So the screws that I used here are number 8s, 32s, 1 3/4 inches. One of the things that I forgot to mention too is when we drilled the holes, I used an 11/64 drill bit. You could use 3/16 if you want some wiggle room. Even though I screwed this up, I still need to kind of make it look finished, right? And I'm not a fan of raw wood. Hence, I taped everything up and painted it all up. And essentially, this is what it looks like once you paint it all up and you get rid of all the raw wood. I think it looks pretty good. Here I just spray painted some of the screws. I used my favorite 15-minute spray paint. Here's all the bits and pieces that are laid out. So we got the fans, the grills, the grills, the fans, the 1 3/4 screws. Here to put it all together, we're going to use a screwdriver and this 11/32 nut driver. So this is it. This is a finished product. Not bad considering. Hopefully at some point I can get another door or two from the guys at Buy Stuff so I could do it properly. But for now, it'll have to do. We're going to move on to the Playfield now. We're going to start pulling the wires and stuff. I noticed that the ground wire was busted. Not that it matters here since we're replacing all this stuff anyway. Now we'll get the Playfield out of the way, the original Playfield monitor. That's gone. So now we're going to pull the plastic brackets. We are going to need these later, so we're going to hold on to them. But we'll get these out, moving at super speed. So you basically pull both sides here. You notice I labeled the top and bottom. At this point I still was using the tutorial, or the teaser, not the tutorial. And I thought we might need these for later, so I labeled them up. Sometimes it's best just to label, just in case. Or, you might even be able to send these out to somebody who needs them. So now these are gone. Just a quick shot of the interior here. We're going to put on the new metal brackets. So a majority of the video, let me just put that out there, a majority of this video is going to be at super speed. No point in watching people work at normal speed. It'd be a very boring video. So you noticed I moved the solenoid out of the way here. The bracket was going to kind of interfere with the solenoid or vice versa. So the other issue was with moving the solenoid was the wire was too short. So I had to make a new set. So I don't know if you've ever worked with a crimping tool before, but it can be kind of daunting. So we'll grab the male terminals here in a second. We're just going to strip the wires and check everything out here. But in a second here, you'll notice that I missed something once I started putting all this together. So for this one here, this is the 2.8. So we're going to use the center of the crimping tool. A couple clicks, get it nice and tight, but you don't quite crimp it yet. And here's where I started laying everything out, but I should... Did I put that in here? Yeah, I did put it in here. All right, so yeah, here's the little rubber pieces that I almost forgot to put on to protect the terminals. So insert it there, make sure that the wire isn't poking out too far, and then just give it a crush. And that's it, we're good. So a rubber piece fits on there nicely. You know, rinse, wash, repeat with the second one. Crimp it. I think it's 2 clicks, 3 clicks maybe. It all depend on your crimper. And then make sure everything lines up there. Crunch it. And we are good. So we'll move over to the machine here and just connect everything up. Now, it's, you know, plus and minus on the connector as far as the connector to the Cleveland solenoid is concerned, but it doesn't really matter in this sense because essentially it's just a switch. So you're just completing a circuit. Nice and easy here. Unscrew them all the way out, just about. Line up your positive and negative, plus and minus, however you prefer to say it. And we're good here. Got some slack. Now we got to move the other solenoid so we could put the other bracket in. And done. So the concern for me was this here. So the video card is rather large. If you guys are interested in the specs of the video card, let me know. This was fun. Each time I tried to place it up there to start working, it kept sliding. So quick little tip here. Get yourself your blue or green tape out. Put it on either side of the Playfield. Sorry for the out of square shot, if you would, but boom, look at that. Not going anywhere now, right? So here we're just going to put in the leveling bolts. Nothing really to it with these. Just run them through. Make sure that the thumb screws are on the back end there, and then essentially here we're going to just kind of line everything up and see how it fits. So getting everything in place. It's the video card was bumping as I thought it would, so I just moved the PC back a little bit. That's the one bonus of actually having it on a test bench versus mounting it directly to the floor. You can move it. So here we're just running the LED wire for the trackball LED. Now back here we've got this, I can never say it, so I'm not going to bother. Links will be in the description. But essentially, all the power is going to be underneath the Playfield. So there are going to be certain things that we want to plug in that aren't necessarily switched. So that's what that weird white wire's all about. So everything that gets plugged behind it will then be powered by the switch, and the other pieces won't. So, but we'll get into that when we get underneath. So now we're going to put on the HDMI splitter here. What I recommend is if you're going to use a drill, you know, dial it back 4, 5, 3, but you don't want to overdo it, especially with this. It's not like it's not real wood. I mean, it's plywood. They made the parts out of really decent wood. It's just you don't want to split it. So last few things with the other board here, we're just going to put the bracket back on as well as the lock. Now, for the lock for me, I like, you'll notice that the key is stuck in the lock still. So I prefer to have the key in the lock when it's locked so you don't lose it. So here we're just going to go through pulling the lock out super quick and reinstalling it. But you might want to rearrange your lock when you do this, if you decide to do this, and actually have it hold the key in place when the door is locked. I don't know about any of you guys, but I've lost the key before, and it's a nightmare if you need to get in the box. So here we're putting in the feet for the LVDS board. They're kind of tough to go in. It took some real force to put these in. So just again, that super speed, we're going to lock it down, get it ready to go. And now we're done. So here is the switch. So obviously I can't get it through the board, right? It's too big. So what I decided to do here was I was going to notch this out. So I notched this out, and this time I was smart and I actually laid out how far I wanted to go. But when it came to recording this here, well, for some reason the camera stopped. So I loaded this all up, made sure I wasn't going to get dust inside the cabinet, and then I checked, and when everything was all said and done, it was done. So how did I do this? I took my Dremel and I went from side here and the other side there, and then I used my drill bit. What was it? It was a 9/32 drill bit right through there. Perfect, done. Now, again, not a fan of raw wood, so real quick, we grabbed that black satin paint again, and we just went around it real quick, painted it up. It took a lot longer to paint this up than I expected. The wood, I mean, it just soaked the paint in. And then just some minor touch-ups around the edge here. Nice, quick, and easy. Make it look good. And we're done. So now we're on to the DisplayPort switch. But first things first, here's the power that's going to control everything except the PC. So this is PC power. This will be wired up on its own. And then the other buttons, you know what they are, you know, for the back glass, for OTG and everything else. So here I was kind of like unsure as to where to put it. So I just finally was like, F it, I'm putting it here. Then the next thing we're going to hook up is the DisplayPort to HDMI cable. So this is a converter cable. This will go back up inside the machine. We'll cover how that gets hooked up later. But the converter has its own little piece. Again, that nice touch of them putting all the double-sided tape on there makes it nice and easy for us. Now that I put that in, I'm ready to drill the hole, right? So we just got to get everything out of the way. Again, we tape everything down just to make sure we don't make a mess of things. So 1-inch speed bit here. Again, we don't go all the way through, but let's clean up real quick. Right, now that everything's cleaned up, we're going to go to the bottom of the machine there. Same thing. Green tape it. One thing you should probably wear, though, are your safety glasses. Don't forget them. I started doing this without the safety glasses, and it took me about 10 minutes to get all the crap out of my eyes. Now, the green tape is good, too, because you get to clean everything up. Looks like I missed a couple spots here and there. I got to watch my fingers on that screw. So again, not a fan of that raw wood, so we took a few minutes, to just paint the hole up, make it finished, nice and neat, do a little touch up. And with that, we're good. And we could start running some of the other wires. So this is just the USB power. Another cable that's going in the back there. Again, we'll discuss where these all go later. And then this one aptly labeled as a DisplayPort Playfield, so we know where that's going. But with all these wires in place, we can now fish them up through the bottom of the Playfield. We'll do that real quick. And then here's just a shot of everything kind of buttoned up nice and neat. Those little clips are nice with the double-sided tape. And then we just put all of our wiring back together. So here's a quick shot of the Playfield. You can see all the wires are now routed nice and neat, just out of the way and then towards the back. So now we want to prep the monitor. Here, I'm just getting ready to power it up. So what we want to do is we want to power it up, make sure it comes on, just so as you can see the power's on. So we want it to turn on every time we start the machine up. So make sure it's powered on before you put it underneath the Playfield. Otherwise, if you put it all together, you're kind of screwed. So here we're just assembling the monitor block. Sorry for bumping the camera there. So essentially, in order to get the bolts in, we need to use the thumb screws to kind of tighten them into place, because they've got like a thick base to them, so they lock into place when you put them in the block. Then we pull the monitor screws out, and then we use the supplied screws to lock the block into place. Now we'll put the feet on the leveler feet on there, and then we're going to drop the monitor in place. Obviously, we're going to put our DisplayPort cable in and the power and kind of center it up. Now we're going to go over to the old Playfield here and just pull everything apart. So pull all the brackets out, because we're not going to use anything other than the plastic frame here. Now the video shows us that we need to cut a majority of these plastic pieces on one side. When I was putting this together, I found that after some trial and error stuff that I added to cut actually more. Now we're just going to have a quick pint in the middle of this, because you know, this is grueling work. So after you cut all your pieces out and you get everything assembled, then you wind up using some foam tape to kind of level things out. So here we're just kind of fitting things into place, testing it. Some of it needed to kind of be revised, if you would, in the sense that when I put everything back together, I found that I had to trim a little bit more, move some things around, that sort of thing. But once everything goes into place, you shouldn't see the reveal on the base, the bottom of the monitor. So everything fits pretty good here, but if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably purchase a monitor with a shorter bezel, and I'll show you why. But first,
please excuse the crudity of this model. I didn't have time to build it to scale or to paint it.
I know this looks like shit. I used paint. I don't know how to use Photoshop. Sorry guys, I suck. So I elected to purchase the LG 32GP750 over the Spectre HDR 400. Why? I love LG. I have LG TVs in my house. Never had an issue with them, so that's why I went with it. Now looking at the Spectre here and the LG, in hindsight being 2020, I figured, you know, it might be worth mentioning that a larger bezel might be a problem. Why? Because it's going to add more trimming, might make it a little bit harder to adjust things. But the fact of the matter is, it's not like I have two monitors to compare to, but it's just one of those things that I wanted to call to your attention, just in case you were kind of on the fence with which type of monitor you wanted to pick up. But
that's all I have to say about that.
So now we're on to getting everything buttoned back up, right? So first things first here is we're going to start cleaning the screen and getting everything squared away there. My house is kind of dusty where the ALPs live. They're right above an air conditioning grate, so they just always seem to get dusty real quick. So quick blast with compressed air, some screen mom with a lint-free rag, and same thing with the glass. Now, the ALPs aren't like arcade one-ups where if you change the screen out or anything like that and then you put the machine back together, it's in there forever because who wants to pull that machine apart? But, you know, take the time, take the effort, make sure it's clean. Even as I was putting things back together, stuff was just flying back in there. So just kind of got to go quick in my house and get everything clean and squared away. Once that's done, then you just want to adjust the feet a little bit to make sure that everything levels out and the glass is nice and tight. Then, you know, we moved on to putting the trackball and everything back in, but I'm not going to go through showing you the lockdown bars and everything else. You've seen it before. We're doing just another quick drive-by here as to what's going on kind of inside the box. The top of the box looks nice and clean, but down here it's kind of rat's nesty. There's really not much I can do about that, just for the nature of all the stuff that's got to go in the panel. But here you can see that we're slowly starting to get things plugged in and everything else, and getting ready to put the back plate on. So first thing we do here is we get the USB hub into place. Of course, everything's labeled. Big fan of labeling. We plug it back into the main board there, and we're all set to go there with regard to hub power and everything else. Now, this I wanted separate power for the PC, so that's what that crazy white cord is for. So that's getting plugged into the cord, and then this big brick at the end, that's the switch that's underneath the front of the machine, and then everything else gets plugged into that. So we're just going to tuck that in there. And then we get on to all the wiring. Now, initially, I was going to show you the entire process of wiring everything up, but there have been so many revisions, I figured I'll just show you the finished products. So here's everything labeled and plugged in. I'm a big fan of labeling, as I said. This way you know where everything goes. I slowed this down a little bit because the shot was kind of shaky since it was tight quarters. So if it looks a little jarring or weird, that's why. Now, here's the front again. I did change some of the labeling just to make it look a little bit more uniform and proper, especially when it came to the DisplayPort 1, since I really wanted to make sure we knew where that went. Sorry for the aspect ratio change here, but it was the best way that I could come up with to show you everything. So first things first, this is the cord that goes down into the OTG, which is the top part of the HDMI splitter. It actually goes through a audio splitter for the HDMI. I had ideas of putting taking the audio and splitting it off, but that goes to the front of the machine. The second wire just goes and gets plugged into the PC. The last one there plugs into what's the VIBS board and plugs into the second port of the HDMI, and then that HDMI cord that comes off the back goes into the PC. Last is the LVDS. That comes in from the front of the machine. I'll have a diagram for you coming up shortly that kind of lays this out, hopefully in a better fashion. So here's the wiring diagram. Yes, I did it in paint. Don't judge me. We're going to start with the bi-directional switch on the left-hand side here. So obviously the USB goes to the USB hub in the back of the machine. The DP down at the bottom display port goes to the 4K or 2K Playfield, whatever you decide to use. DP1, DisplayPort 1, goes to the LVDS on the back of the machine. That's that converter cable that goes from DisplayPort to HDMI. Then DisplayPort 2 goes to the PC. Moving over to the splitter, USB obviously goes to the hub. The bottom of the splitter, that goes to the PC. Then your two split points goes to the OTG in the front. and then the bottom goes to the vids board in the back. Think I'm wrong, or you're questioning this, feel free to let me know, but this is how it's working in my machine. One of the last things I wanted to cover was the just a cover on the back box here. Not really part of the upgrade, but it was something that I did as part of it. This is what I was shooting for when I painted it, but I used too thick of a nap, so I wound up covering up. That's the back of my Ridge Racer machine here. So I elected to kind of color it in a little bit, if you would. Used some acrylic paint on the back. That was supposed to be an orange, but it came out yellow. This was red that came out orange. And then this was another orange from another set that I decided to use and keep. I was a little messy with it, so we needed to do a little bit of touch-up. And here's the finished product. Just a quick drive-by of the back of the machine now with it all buttoned up and ready to go. You'll see here on the back, I have those extra screw holes. That's because initially I had the splitter on the back panel, and then we moved it to the inside of the machine since all the wiring and everything is inside. Now we're going to move on to operation, which is fairly easy. Press the channel button at the top to switch the machine to OTG. On the OTG menu, scroll down to OK. Select it, and your screen will flip. Now, under the machine, we got to press the VIBS button to flip the back box. We also need to press the button on the bidirectional box to get the higher resolution display. Failure to do so will result in the video coming from the LVDS at 1080p, which kind of defeats the purpose. Now we're just going to move on to a little bit of gameplay here. So, Operation Wolf, it's one of the games that you can purchase for the ALP HD, and it looks pretty friggin' good. I'm thoroughly impressed with how well it looks. We're still locked at 60 hertz. There's nothing that we can do to change that, but the upgraded 2K screen makes this really, really pop. So we're going to move on to some more gameplay in a moment. But yeah, the standard game's well worth the time and the effort. Here's just some vertical gameplay. This is Demon Attack. It was one of my favorites as a kid. Remember playing this on the ColecoVision back in the day when my family had a house down the shore, so I got a soft spot for this one. But even vertical gameplay, depending on what you're using, I mean, this is just a basic sauce vertical build. And now we're on over to Adam's Family. This is the VPX version. Fabulous gameplay. This is where this upgrade, in my opinion, excels. Anything that you're playing OTG, whether it be, FX3, M Pinball, VPX, Future Pinball, all that stuff, that's where this upgrade really, really makes the difference. So now we're going to move on to some additional gameplay here. We're moving on over to Terminator 2. This is another one that's courtesy of VPX. We'll just kind of hang back a minute and let the game play out a little bit. And here's some close-ups of just the playfield. This way you can kind of get an idea of how well this really works out for you. Especially like when it comes to the plastics like this over here. I mean, you can actually see the depth of the plastics. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't give you some Superman gameplay here, me being the Superman nut and all. This one I'm going to do my best to talk over as much as possible so I can hopefully avoid that copyright strike. This one heavily uses a lot of the score for the Superman movie. So trying to keep that strike from happening. Here's just a quick close-up of the playfield here. Actually, the full field itself, we'll get into a close-up of the field in a moment. But I can't tell you guys how impressed I am with how much better this looks with the update and screen. So here's just a flyover of the playfield. I mean, look at the clarity of just the art on the playfield, and even still, like, plastics, reflections, all that. I feel like we didn't see that with the standard HD screen. So wrapping things up here, if you stuck around for the end here, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for hanging out. But I gotta say, I highly recommend that you upgrade the screen if you have the means. As I said, it's very time consuming, but well worth it. So if you've got the time and money, highly suggest doing this, especially for the fact that with FX Pinball and FX3 and everything else, we can pretty much get the same Zen games without the lag on the HD screen. It's worth it. That's it for this one, guys. Again, if you stuck around for the whole thing, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Thanks again. Stay safe. Be well. And take care.